We need an intro. We got an intro.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe, okay.
We just did 3 intros.
Monkeys go directly to hell. Hey everyone, welcome to bonus episode 13 of Gorilla Radio Show. We're coming off high off of a guest appearance from Mamadou Casual Geographic, as I'm sure you've all seen by now.
And if you haven't, go watch that episode. It's a good episode. Mamadou is a great guest.
Yeah, we unlocked last month's episode to the public because I did promise I would do that because we got a ton of patrons. So if it feels like you're getting shafted a bit, worry not. We've got a lot of stuff.
Shut the fuck up, bitch.
Anyway, so we've got a lot of stuff. Anyway, so we've got a lot of stuff coming in the pipeline for you guys at Patreon. We want to introduce.
And he's not talking about dick.
We want to introduce a new sort of mini-series inspired, of course, by Blowback, which we've all been watching recently, or listening to. Maybe we can call it like Blow Silverback. I don't know, something stupid like that.
Blow out my back.
But we'll be talking about the Congo and how imperialism has...
Every episode,
Actually,
I'm
I don't
going to
even
become
remember
more
the
and more of a militant Pan-African Marxist, just so
Absolutely.
everybody listening knows. By the end of this, I'll be dressed just like Thomas Sankara.
the first white boy Pan-African.
And I will be
Marxist.
denouncing the French in French and being mad about colonialism, okay? I will cut off a Belgian's hand by the end of this.
Yeah, so the idea behind this miniseries is, there was an anti-colonial or decolonization effort from, Marxists in the Congo, notably Patrice Lumumba.
God rest his
I
soul.
think like the 1960s, right?
Yeah, Lumumba was killed in 1960 or 1970 something?
Yeah, I don't know. He was assassinated. His revolution was destroyed by, European powers. And it led to, the carve-up of the country that we now see today where, rebel groups will conquer territory and then sell it to Western oil companies, essentially completely destroying guerrilla habitat. That is
also
the reason.
Not only are they selling it to oil companies. Go ahead, if you in your free time, go ahead and Google Katanga uranium. Okay, most of the West's nuclear weapons grade uranium has come out of the Congo.
Yeah, see, this is why I'm making Greg and Chandran also do research for this, because I got some book recommendations, but big things coming. We'll probably even have it listed separately on the podcast. I can use the seasons function to mark it as a quote unquote separate season of the show. But yeah, so another thing we were thinking of doing for the patrons is we have Monkey Movie Night every now and then. Our community manager, Ari, hosts that, and we were thinking every once in a while we could just arbitrarily pick a date where all of us are available, and we encourage everyone to come in and watch the movies with us, your hosts, and then afterwards we will record an episode reviewing that movie about monkeys. And so it'll be sort of like a monkey media review type thing. Could be fun.
You should have written more down in your script.
What?
Hey, extemporaneous public speaking is the only way to go. Script writing, speech writing is for cowards like yourself, Greg, okay?
Exactly.
Take a public speaking course, bitch.
I have.
All right. Yeah, I bet you got
Which is why I could have totally fucking elocuted that entire fucking idea a little better than Austin.
Austin, you ever take a public speaking class?
I took one in ninth grade.
So why are you the fucking host of our show?
You don't get fun. Is that a fucking Smirnoff Ice?
It is a Jack Daniels down home punch.
That sounds way stronger than a fucking Smirnoff Ice.
It's not. It's only 5%.
Oh.
But it's pretty tasty. This is my second one tonight.
Have 17 more.
So, anyways, moving on. The other thing we were thinking of was maybe we're sort of tending towards our main feed being more serious, while our bonus content is more goofy, off the cuff kind of stuff.
We are? No,
That's
I know. Look, listen here, guys. If you're already in the Patreon, you know how we are. However, you also need to understand we love money, okay? And we wouldn't do this podcast if there wasn't the possibility of money. So, in order to make
I probably
money,
would do it regardless.
Austin would do it anyway, but he'd be doing it alone. So, no, I genuinely love all of you, but we do need to do a couple things to give ourselves some more mass appeal. So, main feed, we're gonna teach you some shit. This feed will be funny. We'll be goofy. We'll make fun of Austin. I'll get all the jokes about Austin out here.
Well, we'll mix a little bit in both. We're not going to alter the
now it's
content.
100% serious on the
No, not true.
and
Don't listen to
100% silly, goofy business over here, okay?
Not true.
No,
Don't listen to Greg.
actually,
We are going to, I don't know, restructure a bit, sort of. I mean, we've already been doing that. But...
we're laying 10% of you off. We're posting record profits. 10% of you have got to go.
Speaking of giving us more money, I do have a little bit of an announcement to make.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead and get this out, Chandra.
Saturday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, I will be releasing about an hour special for the blackmail tier content. It will be an episode featuring me and all of my friends drunk at my party, my birthday party, spilling all the juicy gossip about me and the stupid things I've done over the past year. So some highlights include the extravagant purchase of silk Persian rugs.
That never arrived.
They did arrive. I shipped them back.
Oh.
I'm giving too much away now. Illegal street racing and
Tell us how that ends.
What else? There's some more
Tell us
stuff.
how the illegal street racing ends.
Y'all know how that ends. Actually, our blackmail tier does. Everyone else just knows I've been in a car accident.
I think
Only
everybody
black
else
belt
knows. Yeah, everybody else knows it's a car accident because I used the image to make fun of Chandra once.
Yeah, It's a really gnarly image of my car after that accident. But
Do you have a car now?
Yeah, I have a car. Yeah.
Go ahead. Tell me it's not a BMW.
No, it's a Kia.
Oh, now you're
got
a lesbian
downgraded.
Yeah. I actually picked out the Kia. My dad got me.
I know you did.
You know it.
But yeah, so you got it's really quickly. I've got to ask: did you vet this content? Did you listen to it after you weren't drunk?
Yeah, I haven't listened to it yet, but
You should.
You should probably do that.
Listen, it's going up. It's going up anyways. I will be editing and censoring some parts out that need to be private information. But other than that, it's going up. I promise, folks.
Yeah.
I know the audio is crazy because it's in the middle of a party, in the living room of the party. We didn't go to a separate room.
Hopefully, it's not too painful. But if you upgrade to the blackmail tier, $10 a month, you can hear that beautiful shit.
You give us $10 a month, and here's the deal. Here's what I'll do for you. Okay, this is only you're gonna have to tell me you listened to this episode. This is how serious I'm gonna make this offer. You listen to this episode.
Greg,
you join the $10 tier. You DM me after you've joined the tier with the following quote. Okay, butterflies only fly 2 times. First to live, second to die. And I will fucking send you $15 worth of merch.
What? For real? We're doing that?
Yeah, if we get $10 upgrades, absolutely. I'll send you $50. I'll lose money on this, but you have to stay subscribed for 2 months, at least.
Okay, yeah, sure. I guess we're doing this then, Greg.
But you have to send me that exact quote, and I'm not saying it again, so if you missed it, you better fucking rewind.
Okay, well, Greg's doing some crazy shit. He's going off the script here, but yeah. All right, there's that. Yeah, all right, so moving on. I just want to really quickly breach the topic that there have been multiple
allegations against you.
No, there's been multiple train derailments in the American Midwest carrying hazardous chemicals that are going to destroy the environment. They exploded. Coincidentally, a couple of weeks after Chandran suggested, arming the railway unions with dirty bombs. So I'd just like to open the floor up for Chandran for a moment to, explain yourself.
I got 5 words for you.
Okay.
Get ready for the 6th.
Oh my god! Holy shit!
There was another one today.
Was there?
Yeah.
Fuck. Okay, hold on. I got 5 words for you. Get ready for the 7th. Sorry, folks. A lot of information comes through my desk right now. I can't keep up.
Yeah, a lot of plans going as expected.
I'm like fucking Palpatine over here. Got so many fucking balls in the air.
Yeah.
And
All
in my
right,
mouth.
but okay. So, yeah. So for this episode,
Okay, wait. So y'all can be gay, and it's not a problem. But if I say some gay shit, then it's a problem. Okay, you know what?
Yes, Chandran, figure it the fuck out. It's called homophobia.
But yeah, so for this episode, I wanted to do a little deep dive into the life of an orangutan known as Joe Martin, or sometimes known as Chimpanzee Charlie. Now, the actual events of this orangutan's life are hotly debated because it seems like everyone alive was just like not a like accurate source of information in the 1920s. So
People
you're gonna
loved
have
to lie back then. That's why the Great Depression
I
happened.
love lying.
Yeah.
Put me in the
Looking through this-
1920s. Whew.
Like looking through this Wikipedia page, so many quotes and like anecdotes are just like immediately followed up in parentheses with note, this is a notoriously unreliable source. Like shit like that. So I picked out what seems to be the best sourced and the most true information of Joe Martin the orangutan. So,
Joe Mama.
oh yeah, and just to elaborate on that point a little bit, there's an article in the Photoplay magazine written in first person, allegedly from Joe's perspective, claiming that he was a chimpanzee from Madagascar. In fact, there were many articles in the time written in first person from Joe Martin, the orangutan's perspective, just to give you an insight as to how like the American mind worked in the 1920s, I guess.
Yeah. We have talked about an episode a few months back now. We talked about how like the idea, the hope that we could make chimps be civilized, follow our customs, is like eugenics crap. Is like race science, is pseudoscientific bullshit.
Yeah. A lot of these articles like to emphasize the idea that Joe Martin was like gentlemanly or chivalrous, and a lot of like anecdotes, which may or may not be true, would maybe back up that fact, or were at least portrayed in such a way as to get that idea across. But as we'll learn, as is true with many actors, never meet your heroes. This was not always the case. So, to start out, in the early 1900s, a majority of orangutans on the global market were captured in and exported from northern Sumatra. Joe Martin the orangutan was said to have been born sometime around 1911 in the quote-unquote East Indies, aka Indonesia. More specifically, though, if we're talking northern Sumatra, that would make Joe Martin a Tapanuli or Sumatran orangutan. Not that that necessarily matters, but the thing here is that orangutans have exceptionally high parental investment from mothers, and they're typically cared for around 8 years of their life. Joe Martin, as is the case with most exotic primate captures and, the exotic primate trade in general, his mother was killed and he was taken to be shipped to America at the age of 6 months old.
He was shipped to Robeson. Is that how you say his name? Robeson is Robinson. Robinson is a notorious importer of exotic animals. Made his wealth in the gold rush. Led his work led to like invasive songbirds in Hawaii and other things. And it's kind of the same like bullshit that my favorite piece of shit eco-terrorist is Shefflin, who was such a huge fan of Shakespeare. He thought America should have all of Shakespeare's birds. So he introduced invasive species like starlings to the U.S.
Is that why we have so many goddamn starlings?
That is why we have so many starlings. Yeah. This not confirmed to be true, but I believe
You know what? Was he
Fuck that
English?
guy.
Was he English?
he was English. Yeah.
Fucking
He wanted-
don't care. He takes the blame.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so this guy was basically a notorious Like, he was the exotic animal importer of the 20th century in America. So we'll maybe do a deep dive on him later. But there's some varying, accounts on who got Joe Martin the orangutan first. But generally, it's accepted that an insurance firm in the early 1910s bought Joe Martin for $250, and throughout his life he went basically from exhibit to exhibit. He started out in a pier side exhibit called The Missing Link, where I guess he was just put in a cage and put on display. Then he was sold to Universal, which is the beginning of the very long and troubled acting career of Joe Martin the orangutan. So yeah, Greg, if you want to read this letter that a child sent to Joe Martin the orangutan at the beginning of his silent.
I got this. Okay.
Yeah, do your best little boy voice.
Joe received a letter reading as follows:
Dear Mr. Joe Martin, I wish you would send me your picture. My papa says you are only a monkey, but I think you are an actor.
Inspiring words.
Yeah,
from
Joe
inspiring
starred in
child.
Joe starred in fucking more than 50 silent films, starting in 1915. An animal trainer named Curly Stecker. This is the most 1920s ass fucking bullshit name.
This is such a 1920s
Started taking
story.
care of Joe Martin.
Circuses, silent films.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
and then here we go. According to Frank Buck, yet another not reliable source, Joe Martin was cross-fostered by the Steckers. He was taken into Curly's house to be raised and grew up with the Stecker's son. Curly worked with Joe Martin for the next 8 years, theoretically.
An early film review of Joe, because listen, I'm so interested in what these fucking little weird people in the 20s have to say about an orangutan showing up on their screens. Early film
First
review
of all,
says
mostly everyone thought he was a chimpanzee. So
What the fuck?
Yeah, they called him.
Is he a fucking chimp or an orangutan?
he's an orangutan, but everyone called him a chimp because everyone was stupid and didn't know the difference. So if
Yeah,
you
they called
ever
him
hear, yeah,
Chimpanzee Charlie, which I assume is that after Charlie Chaplin, or is Charlie
Right
Chaplin?
around the
don't
same
know.
time.
I would assume, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Charlie Chaplin was big in the late teens till they started doing talking in movies.
Yeah. Okay. So early film review says, when you see that horribly ugly orang, Joe Martin, advancing with his long waving arms towards little baby Townsend, and you shudder to think of the poor kitty's fate, you will be surprised and delighted to see Joe Martin sit down beside the tiny tot and with his wicked-looking long arms fondle the baby, who seems to be enjoying the experience as much as anybody. This baby is allegedly played by Curly Stecker's 2-year-old son, Roy Stecker, which, if I had a kid, I would not let near an orangutan.
Yeah. So right away, we're seeing the
insane.
foundation for a psychotic primate event. In that this man, he's the head, he's the head animal trainer of the Universal Zoo, the Universal film studio, whatever. And he's raising this orangutan with his son and his wife in his home as a companion. But all things considered, as is usually the case with primate actors, for the first couple of years of his life when he was young, he was, a perfect little obedient film star. He listened to all the commands. He started his film career, his silent film career, in 1915, and until 1918, everything was going swimmingly. In 1918, however, Joe contracted the Spanish flu and was made to wear a flu mask, actually. I thought that was funny to include because I'm imagining an orangutan with a little COVID mask. But coincidentally, not long after he fell gravely ill from the Spanish flu is when sort of his temperament began to change. Whether maybe it was the brush with death or just the fact that he was physically growing older, I guess remains to be seen. Or you can't really do anything except speculate. But the first incident involving Joe Martin was in late 1918. A $10,000 lawsuit was brought to Universal by security guard Thomas G. Cockings, who claimed that Joe Martin
This seems like a fucking Three Stooges sketch.
This is the entirety of like anything that happened in Hollywood in the 1920s is just an extended Three Stooges sketch. So yeah, Thomas G. Cockings claimed that Joe Martin had bitten him 40 times on the legs. The studio claimed at the Superior Court hearing that Joe Martin, contrary to these claims, was lovable, sharing photos of him walking with and embracing women, holding a baby, and wearing a flu mask, which I guess was endearing. While one witness for the company testified that Joe Martin had hugged and kissed him at their first meeting.
I think it's so funny they put a orangutan on court, and their defense was, "Your Honor, this
Isn't he just a cute little
orangutan has
guy?
great vibes. He's just a little guy.
Your Honor, this guy is so fucking chill.
This guy is so
cute
chill."
and goofy.
Can I read the next part? Because I have
Yes.
a whole extended bit here.
Yes.
Yeah.
The outcome of the case was not publicized, but a couple of years later, director Al Santel, Italian, said, quote, "There was a night watchman at the menagerie for a while who always carried a bottle with him on his rounds, and now and then he'd give Joe a drink. But one night when he was 3 sheets to the wind, he put red pepper in the whiskey, and oh boy, Joe nearly went crazy trying to get at the man. But he never hurts a woman or a child. When we use babies in the animal comedies, they are absolutely safe with him. Now, everyone be quiet.
They're using real fucking babies. They had baby dolls at the time, everybody. They're using real fucking babies. They're handing a real baby to an orangutan.
People didn't understand.
But he's
movie
so
magic
sweet
back
and
then.
kind.
How many babies do you think Joe threw and Universal covered up?
More than one. Those long arms,
But yeah, so
they are gone.
So yeah,
For the
this
fences, baby.
assumedly Italian director Al Santel was a big defender of.
Are you questioning
Joe Martin.
Greg's phrenology abilities?
Italian.
So this Italian was a
Watch
big
me
defender.
Google him and I'll be right.
Was a big defender of Joe Martin early on, saying he only beat that guy up because he pranked him with his alcohol that he was giving him, I guess, which seems like a whole other can of worms, but regardless, we'll move on from that.
Shit, I can see by his picture.
The shape of his skull.
No, just like his whole affect. It's like, just look at this.
Very Italian. So,
This is
That's a
Italian
fucking
man.
Italian. Right
regardless
there. That's an
of this
Italian.
incident and this lawsuit, they continued using Joe Martin. In fact, his value actually increased. Joe Martin's rental rate was said to be $100 per day. Universal thought he was worth $7,000 to $10,000 if they sold him outright. During this time, there were many claims made by actors and trainers working with him that he understood human language perfectly, would understand command first try, and even that, they'd give him keys to his enclosure and he'd select the key from the ring, unlock it and walk in and then lock it behind him. Like, no problem at all.
Which, we talked about. I think we just talked about this orangutan who would bust out of his cell at the zoo, release all the other animals, and then get back into his cell and then hide the
funny thing
wire
about
he
that.
used to. What do you mean funny thing about that?
The funny thing about that is the very next incident involving Joe Martin.
Oh, no.
In July 1919, Joe Martin escaped from his enclosure and went on a week-long rampage, in which time he wrecked an assistant trainer's quarters, released approximately 15 wolves, freed his co-worker, Charlie the Elephant, ripped the cage door off of his hinges, harassed a roadside evangelist,
Based.
like one of those roadside preachers. Yeah, that's based though.
All this is
and
based, in my opinion. This
eventually-
is great.
Fell asleep in a riverbed about 0.5 miles from the studio and had to be lassoed and brought back into captivity.
This is a fucking DreamWorks movie. Breaking out of the circus. This is Madagascar 3, isn't it?
This is the plot of Dumbo.
Yeah.
Stecker casually mentioned to a reporter that he took a gun away from one of the policemen who was attempting to catch him and was about to kill the cop when the rest of us were able to seize him and trust him.
Hero.
Meanwhile, another officer tried to shoot him, and I think him here means the orangutan means
Yes,
Joe
I
Martin.
don't think he was mercy killing the other officer. I think he was trying to shoot the monkey. regardless of this incident, they writ it off as all that little scamp Joe Martin. Many accounts kept coming out in the newspapers, as we've heard, of this distinguished gentleman who they considered him. Some magazines, some newspapers called him an animal with a human brain because they held him in such high regard. Now, this is all obviously sensationalized, cherry-picked stories from trainers. But there's also many accounts of allegedly Joe having a great fondness for children. On some occasions, he would escape Universal, which I'm assuming means that he was just constantly escaping and they weren't doing anything about it.
Yeah, it just seems like he was just constantly unlocking his own cage because all their security guards were drunk because it's 1918.
He was only able to be convinced back to his enclosure by child actors. And on another
Psychotic
occasion,
behavior.
on another occasion, an actor was assigned in a comedy film to spank another child, or to spank a child actor for a scene, and Joe Martin became so enraged that he flew at him and tackled him to the ground.
Can we just talk about why he's just wandering around the sets?
They just don't have.
They're like, "Oh, you're good, Joe. You're not going until the next take." And they would have got him sitting in one of those fucking chairs.
Absolutely. He's got his own chair.
He's got a beer.
He's got a kid with him to keep him occupied.
He's got a beer in his hand.
This whole fondness of children is kind of as he grows more violent.
Yeah,
it's becoming more problematic, I believe.
Yeah.
So, Greg, if you want to read this little
part?
saga about how he continued to terrorize early defender and Italian Al Santel.
So, in November 1919, Italian-American Al Santel reprimanded Joe about slamming a door too hard and breaking the set. So Joe Martin grabbed him by the ankle and pushed him down 2 flights of stairs, leading to a, quote, badly wrenched arm, a cut on the cheek, a sprained leg, and numerous bruises.
Well, for 2 flights of stairs, that's not too bad.
Yeah. Joe Martin also suffered electrical burns to his hands after he escaped a film shoot, climbed a power pole, chewed on the rubber insulation of the copper wire, and then began swinging along the lines of this as if he were in a forest canopy. Oh, I'm going to keep going. In 1920, on the set of A Wild Night, Joe attacked Italian-American Al Santel once again, biting him so hard that Curly and Carl Strecker together were needed to pull Joe Martin off Santel so they could transport him to the Jesus Christ, the studio hospital. What a company store ass kind of a thing to have.
So I want to really quickly go over like some of the like interspersed context of this. In the article written about Joe Martin pushing Al Santel down the stairs, the local news literally didn't take it seriously and wrote it as a little comedy piece where they said, I'm sure at the end of the day, they made up, and Joe Martin explained that he just simply had to discipline the director, which maybe that's more indicative of how people thought about Italians at that time. But second, it's very funny that after being pushed down a flight of stairs, Santel continued to work with Joe Martin, the orangutan.
Well, no, they had no choice because back then what happened is like movie stars in the 20s, they didn't make a lot of money. Directors, producers, none of them did. Only the studio made money because you had to basically sign your life away to work with them for a certain number of films, and then they would pay you.
Okay,
damn,
that makes sense then.
So he was probably locked into working with Universal for years. This is before there was the Screen Actors Guild.
I see. Shout out Ronald Reagan, the only good thing he's ever done. We're watching Austin scamper around his apartment right now.
Look at that dumper on him.
For real. He is scampering.
Austin, show us your butt.
Okay, sorry, I had to turn something off. But
what was it?
It was my Roomba. It's like stuck on a schedule. I don't know how to turn it off, but
Unplug it.
I have to wait.
Do you think Roombas are plugged in?
They are. That's how they charge.
Well,
yeah, it's been unplugged.
Leave it uncharged. And die on the fine.
But yeah, so Al Santel gave a little account of the attack on him, and let me see if I can find it real quick. So, okay, this Italian Al Santel, on the set of A Wild Night, when he was bitten, he gave a statement in an interview in 1972, and he said of the orangutan, "When a chimpanzee bites you, he doesn't just give you one quick bite. He clamps his teeth in, gets set, and then puts the pressure on. And I could feel each tooth mauling into my leg."
Okay.
That sucker was locked in.
But yeah, again, everyone thought he was a chimpanzee for some reason. I don't know what the deal with that is.
It's 1972. He still thinks it's a fucking chimpanzee.
Yeah, it's like he has no excuse.
It's just
at
to
this
show.
point.
It's just to show.
This is like
to
50
show
years
you
later.
Italians have no capability of like learning things after a certain age. You know, they just get stuck.
Yeah. And just to
Okay.
really quickly go over some other incidents. On the set of The Revenge of Tarzan, Joe
Shout out
attacked the
Tarzan.
actor playing Tarzan while they were filming a scene swinging from vine to vine, as the actor accidentally hit Joe in the process of swinging and allegedly attacked the main villain of the film for threatening a woman in one scene.
Yeah.
The reason I say allegedly is because that seems like another one of those things they made up to make him seem like, oh, the chivalrous ape. But yeah, if anyone like inconvenienced him, it seemed like he would just like attack
He was
them,
on site.
and then people would just be like, "Oh, that Joe Martin, that rascal." In June 1921, I should say, while filming the movie A Monkey Bellhop, after allegedly being hit with a telephone thrown by Curly Stecker, I don't know why he would have done that. They did not elaborate. Joe Martin bit Curly's wife, Ethel Stecker,
Ethel.
through her
Is that
ankle
how you say that?
and
Ethel?
Let him keep going. Let him keep going.
Ethel Stecker. Ethel
Ethel.
Stecker
Bro
sounds
has
fucking-
absolutely no fucking concept of how to speak English.
Anyways, Joe bit Ethel Stecker, Curly's wife, through her ankle and down to the bone. Legally, the consequence for an animal actor biting a human was supposed to be getting shot to death.
What
But
does that
Ethel-
even mean? Shot to death.
Like they
Shot
were,
until you
they were
die.
going to shoot him in the head to put him down. They didn't have like ketamine overdoses back then. They would just shoot the fucker.
They should
Um,
still do that, in my opinion.
Yeah, but this
They
was
should.
avoided because Ethel pleaded for Joe Martin's life, saying, "I brought him from a baby. I couldn't bear to part with him." More importantly, though, he was massively profitable to the studio.
Yeah, and that's the important part, folks, is
Yeah.
profit.
Curly Stecker, who instigated this incident by throwing a telephone at the monkey's fucking head, appealed to authorities by promising to saw off his tusks if he would be spared. Quote. Thus,
What an
Joe
insane
Martin.
thing to say out loud, you know?
Yeah.
That's just how people in the 20s spoke.
Thusly, Joe Martin's canines were removed from his mouth, and he was allowed to continue his career as an animal actor.
Leading to Joe Martin's second reported assault. His second reported assault
In
was
1921, his second report.
in
Yeah.
1921 on a woman involved him. Joe Martin's second reported assault on a woman involved him chucking a coconut right at the actress Dorothy Phillips' head and laughing about it afterwards.
You put a lime in a coconut and you
Absolutely.
shake it all up.
Despite these incidents, that's what he was trying to do. Listen, he wanted a cocktail. Dorothy Phillips was in the way. Really, that's what happened.
And so he
Uh,
threw a coconut at her head.
Yeah.
Despite these
They-
incidents, in
yeah.
October of 21, the Los Angeles Herald reported that Joe Martin was an animal with a human brain, as Austin said
Yeah.
earlier.
So yeah,
Don't-
that is when they decided to report on that. Is
Don't
after
even fucking
all
worry,
of that
folks.
shit.
You know, it continues to get better. In November of 1921, as part of a studio-wide restructuring, Curly Stecker was removed as the head of Universal City Zoo. Insane. In spring 1922, Joe Martin attacked 3 substitute trainers during Stecker's absence, and the San Francisco Call reported that, quote, "Some think Joe Martin is incurably insane. When Joe showed signs of melancholy over Stecker's absence, a little monkey was placed in his cage in hope that companionship would stop his brooding.
Oh.
Joe
Oh, no.
beat the monkey to death against the bars. When Stecker returned to the zoo in March of 1922, Joe Martin, quote, threw his hairy arms around Stecker's neck and kissed him.
Isn't that such a sweet story? Took the monkey and smashed it against the bars until
They managed
it
to make the only violent orangutan I could think of.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, reading into this, I was shocked at like how violent this fucking orangutan was. Like,
This is what society does to a motherfucker.
Obviously, taking an orangutan 8 years prematurely from its mother is going to fuck it up. Human socialization invariably fucks all these primates up.
Mhm.
But like taking a smaller monkey and bashing its head into a metal bar until it dies because you're mad that your fucking papa isn't there anymore is so insane.
So, during the filming of Trifling Women in 1922, though there are varying accounts of the incident, it is reported that Joe Martin was irritated at being refused a tumbler of water that his co-star Edward Connolly was drinking.
Get this
A
man some
report
water.
in Photoplay, the same magazine that published the first-person account of Joe Martin,
Yes.
stated that Stecker had told Connolly not to give Joe Martin the water because he only drinks warm water and it's not good for him.
Which, first of all, that's such that Italian statement.
Italian bullshit.
The temperature of water.
Hold on, everybody. Stop.
determines
He's
your
right.
health.
He's right, folks.
Goddamn Italians. That's the last line of solidarity Greg will ever fall to, and I'm so sad to see it happen here.
Well, where else do I have to go?
I
Bald
don't
people? Well, most of them are evil.
True.
Anyways, so in return to Edward Connolly getting this precious water that Joe Martin was not allowed to have, Joe waited until Stecker's back was turned. He was, of course, back on set with him at this point. Otherwise, he would fucking kill people. But Joe waited until Stecker's back was turned to leap at Connolly, breaking his arm, drawing blood, mangling his hands, and only letting go after 10 full minutes of mauling when 3 property men twisted Joe's testicles until he let go. Stecker assured everyone by giving Martin a, quote, prompt and thorough beating afterwards.
Which is, exactly what you do in this situation.
I understand why they're calling him a chimp now. They are
Uses-
turning him into an evil little gremlin with hate in his soul.
So yeah, something to mention is earlier Martin had that co-star Charlie the Elephant who worked with him on a couple of films, notably the silent Tarzan films. I think one of them was just called Tarzan and the other one was called Revenge of Tarzan.
Okay.
They used Charlie in both of those, so the two knew each other. But
in April 1923, Martin's old co-star, Charlie the Elephant, went, quote, berserk and began attacking the 300 extras on set before picking Strecker up and throwing him to the ground. He moved to crush Strecker to death, being stopped only by a stagehand with a pitchfork. Stecker died from complications to those injuries, as well as leukemia, a year later, probably from the asbestos cigarettes he was smoking. On December 31st, 1923, now considered too dangerous to work in film after, all right, everybody, let's count them up, probably like 9 different fucking incidents. Joe Martin was sold to the Al G. Barnes Circus, where he remained until he died at an unknown date, possibly sometime in 1931, making him around 20 years old. Remarkably old for orangutan in captivity at the time.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, this is, I don't know, Austin does, so like how we have elongated our lifespans through diets and medicine.
Holy shit! Hold on.
Yeah.
What?
Mostly unremarkable during his time in this circus, but one newspaper reportedly showed a photo of Joe Martin with fully developed cheek pads. This is unlikely, as most orangutan actors, as if there were a lot of them, were castrated as infants.
Yeah, no, I actually wrote that part myself. That's not from the Wikipedia article. There's at the Center for Great Apes, where Sandra, your arch nemesis, lives.
I'm gonna get her one day.
Hope that bitch dies.
there's a couple of orangutans there who will never develop cheek flanges because they were former orangutan actors, which, yes, there were that many. They are all castrated, either chemically or otherwise, at a very young age as infants, and thus they never fully develop. They just get very long limbs and very long hands. Like, it's fucked up. Like, they never stop growing because they don't hit that biological or what's the word I'm looking for? Hormonal cue that other orangutans do.
So they just keep growing longer and longer?
Pretty
Yeah,
much. I
what?
mean, this orangutan's hands that I saw were like very long. Like looked like he
Wow.
was wearing clown shoes. It was
Huh.
kind of freaky, but
That
they
is
don't get
horrifying.
like, infinite growth. Obviously, they're gonna
Yeah.
shrink from old age one day, but it's just one of the many side effects of being in the animal industry. But yeah,
Gotcha.
so, some other anecdotes before we get into the final anecdote. The
Oh,
final,
really quickly, back to my point, Austin. So
Yeah,
we're kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
following
sorry.
there. So as we've elongated our, have we also done this for primates and other animals in captivity? Have we elongated their lifespans within captivity?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just because we used to just feed them. For reference, they let Joe Martin drink alcohol and smoke cigarettes regularly. In fact,
Goddamn.
on one occasion,
Shout
They
out.
should be.
they made him smoke so many cigars for a movie scene that he became like violently sick.
Oh, that's not good. Made him smoke a carton to prove what cigarettes do to
Like
you.
pure Cuban.
Boy, if you want to smoke cigarettes, I'll let you smoke cigarettes.
That fucking King of the Hill scene. Keep puffing.
You smoked a whole pack. Keep on, keep going.
For God's sakes, Bobby, what nationality are you?
American.
Then why are you holding your cigarette like some kind of European Nazi in the movie?
All right. So to close us out, our last report on Joe Martin. I think this. Oh, actually, Austin, do you have something you wanted to say before we go here?
Yeah,
Joe
yeah,
Mama.
sure. I guess just some little anecdotes that I found along the way. The people, when he threw that coconut at that woman's head, they claimed that her life was spared because her wig was so thick that it absorbed the blow, which
Insane.
that's either a serve or fake. Also, it was said that after Stecker's death, which it's a little strange because they say, oh, he died of leukemia, but on his birth certificate, not his birth certificate, on his death certificate, they wrote complications from animal-related injuries. I'm guessing he never fully recovered from having his rib cage crushed.
Yeah, and
by an
I'm
elephant.
guessing the studio lied about that because that's what they do.
Yeah. So yeah, after his death, Joe Martin, he kept smoking cigarettes, and it was noted that he actually smoked cigarettes in the same way that Stecker did, letting the cigarette hang loosely from his bottom lip.
Like a
Only
hick.
way to do it.
Yeah,
way to do
But yeah, so he was sold to the Barnes Circus, and this is all coming from the 1935 account of Al Barnes' life and career. And also,
Seems
and
trustworthy.
also 400 witnesses at the time. But the final known incident of Joe Martin the orangutan before his death, which unknown cause, unknown time, he just sort of faded into obscurity. It seems like they didn't even really keep track of which orangutan was which at that point. But
Jesus.
according to a spring 1927 newspaper report and verified by the first-hand accounts in the book, Joe Martin escaped his cage during a circus stand performance in San Rafael, California. He initially charged a group of stake drivers, but then suddenly changed direction and seized trapeze artist Babe Letourneau by the arms. Letourneau, I don't know, there's some French name, that's how you say it, reportedly screamed and fainted, which people in the 20th century just used to faint for any fucking reason.
Oh, my fragile
to be fair,
sensibilities.
this castrated orangutan must look like a fucking freak coming at you.
Yeah,
is
it
true.
was
Long,
probably
That is
very
true.
gangly
scary.
fingers. Yeah. I would faint.
Luckily for Babe, former heavyweight champion James Jeffries was on the scene because
Not
he
James
was-
Jeffries. James J. Jeffries.
Oh,
Okay.
God.
He's James J. Jeffries.
Is there a difference? I don't know.
I just think it's funny to have three initials and they all be J.
JJJ. Yeah, that is kind of funny. Luckily, the circus was putting on an exhibition match between James J. Jeffries and another heavyweight boxer, Tom Sharkey. As witnessed by an alleged 400 members of the circus troupe and the audience, Jeffries ran at Joe Martin, bellowing, "Let go there!" which led Joe Martin to drop Letourneau. Regardless,
Which, by the way, insane behavior.
Babe had it like that. What can I say? She had Jeffrey's in the palm of her hand.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, he was literally white knighting. Regardless of the fact that he listened and let go, Jeffries then continued to swing at Joe Martin with his right, but missed and lost his balance, at which point Joe Martin jumped on his back, holding onto him with his hind feet. Jeffries then threw himself backwards to the ground and landed on him hard enough to knock the wind out of Joe Martin. Jeffries then, not satisfied, got back up. In the words of the sports page writer, this time Jeffries was in his famous crouch and was ready. Jeffries knocked down Joe Martin with a blow and then clambered on top of him and beat him unconscious.
Absolutely unhinged.
I feel like this might have been when he died. No, he probably died soon after that.
Yeah, the newspaper claimed, Joe Martin, he just suffered, a lumpy eye, and then he was skulking for the rest of the day, having.
Is that what they called black eyes back then? Lumpy eyes?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's a lumpy eye.
Yeah, he was like,
damn.
he got a quick lump, but he
He
got
got
up.
a lumpy eye, but he'll be all right. Ain't that right, Jack?
Yeah, never mind the fact that this heavyweight boxer just punched this like developmentally stunted, mentally scarred orangutan unconscious.
You know how big your balls have to be though to like just
Just
punch an
start
orangutan
beating
in
the
the face?
fuck out of an orangutan.
Yeah,
Like, we've talked a
gigantic
lot about
energy.
how like surely nobody could beat a great ape in a fight, but like this is the first like example I can think of a guy just straight up beating an orangutan unconscious.
For real.
Obviously, there's a lot of factors here, such as the fact that he like caught him off guard and then knocked the wind out of him, and also the fact that he was massively unhealthy from a lifetime of chain smoking and castrated, so he was like fucked up and like didn't grow right, and just the fact that he was socialized to be a human, so he didn't have that dog in him. You know what I
He
mean?
did not have that dog in him, everybody. Remember that. Write that down.
He might like, despite all that, he's still like severely mauled like everyone around him constantly. But
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, if there's anything I learned from the life and death of Joe Martin the orangutan is that seemingly nobody in the 1920s was a reliable source of like first-hand eyewitness accounts of information for anything.
They were all doing blow and drinking themselves to oblivion. That's why they had to do a prohibition.
Yeah.
But seemingly, I guess the moral here is that they literally just let you do what the fuck ever in the 20s in
I
America,
guess
right?
so.
I mean, like,
Yeah. You just do whatever you wanted.
Does sound like a good place to be,
Yeah, this has been the life and death of Joe Martin the orangutan, taken from northern Sumatra as an infant, lived a star-studded but short-lived career as an actor in Hollywood, a silent film star. Like many other silent film stars, didn't translate too well to the motion picture, but I
But
think
boy,
there's
was it a good bit while it lasted, folks?
I do think it's funny that they were making so many Tarzan movies at the time that he was just in constant work.
He was just constantly in a fucking Tarzan movie, like forever.
Yeah, why? We
What
don't
was the
like.
obsession with Tarzan?
We don't make a lot of movies with animals in them. It's not like a thing you're going to see every week. What were they doing?
no.
Why are they just doing animals all the time back then? Is that all they had?
I don't know.
I guess
were
they've
they
never
using,
seen it. I guess they've never
actual
seen them before.
infants with the animals?
People were stupid, man.
People really are dumb as fuck.
I need to. The fact that like they didn't see him as a problem after he released 15 real adult like dangerous wolves just
Everyone's
into
just
the
out there
public.
releasing wolves, and everybody's fine with that.
Did those wolves ever get captured? Were they all?
I don't know. They
returned?
didn't specify.
Who knows?
They never elaborated on that.
Oh,
That's why these
fucking-
sources are so frustrating. Like, I tried to find a copy, like an e-copy of the book detailing the life and career of Al Barnes, and I would have had to request the History Museum of Chicago scan chapters of the book and send them to me personally, which God knows how long that would have taken, but we're going to have to trust Wikipedia on this for now, I think. Yeah, I don't know.
Just insane. Just absolutely insane.
Folks, thank you for joining us for our 13th bonus episode.
Yeah.
It was great.
We popped off.
We did. This was a really solid episode.
I think this is a good one.
This might end up in the main feed one day. If we ever need like some filler, because this is
Well,
I don't know.
With my
I don't
extended
want to give too much of the Patreon. To
No,
the
I mean like,
to the,
hey, one day one of us is like we're like
Far
sick
future.
or distracted, and like we can't do a second episode 1 month. We'll just release this instead,
Yeah, and then we're gonna have, when we get to the main episode, we'll have a little more structure. We'll do a nice, like, pretty formal announcement of what we're doing for the new series that we're gonna be doing, and
this is our attempt at making more structured episodes.
Yeah.
I basically wrote out like a little, not a script, but I picked out the best bits.
So we have a research doc here. We've got quotes and everything.
We did stuff.
Please give us feedback, because we are so excited to start our Congo series, and we want to make sure
I want to get started on that shit right away.
Yeah.
Speaking of another reason I was excited to do this episode is because I couldn't find anyone else reporting on it. Like, we're like, this is obviously Wikipedia, but like we're the first like funny little like media informal people to present it like this. Like, everyone's done a Travis the Chimp video on YouTube, but I can't find anything about this orangutan on YouTube or TikTok or anything like that. I think partially because all of the information is so inaccurate, but like it's kind of insane given that this orangutan was a nationwide, well-known celebrity.
Bro was a phenomena, for real.
He got so many letters that there was a legal debate sparked, prompting that statement from that one newspaper saying that he was an animal with a human mind. That was because they were unsure of how to handle the mailing system, like if they were actually allowed to address mail to an animal and not like his trainer or something. But eventually they let it happen, and so legally he kind of was granted personhood. He was the original Sandra.
Absolutely. They gave
instead of killing Sandra.
No, fuck! I didn't get to kill the first person ape. James Jeffries did it. Fuck,
you are gonna have to build a time machine and kill Joe Martin. Because think about it.
I'm gonna go kill James J. Jeffries.
I
don't want to kill Joe Martin.
You're gonna go back in time to kill James K. Jeffries.
I'm thinking though that nobody knows how Joe Martin died, right? Like, he just sort of disappeared from the public eye one day. They just stopped showing
I do
him.
have plausible deniability. Yeah.
So like nobody would know it was you if you just went back in time and.
Chandron's actually already been back.
Hey, you got to remember, that's not the plan. The plan is to get put in jail for first-degree murder.
Oh, yeah.
It's a crucial part of the plan.
That's true.
Because you know what? I'm pretty sure the courts, they're cowards. They're not going to do it to me.
Exactly.
And then I win. I go to jail for like animal abuse or whatever. But you know what? I got the high ground, bitch. I respected Sandra as a person.
I think it's possible because they did use the court defense of his first incident of, look at this little guy. He's just a pleasant little guy.
He's just a little guy. He's just a little guy. He doesn't know any better.
I think Joe Martin still had enough like holdover clout from his film career that he could, they could make a case against you and they would get your ass.
Maybe. Also, 1920s court. Who knows what the fuck's gonna happen there?
They just let anything happen. Like, they didn't have any rules.
That's true.
They didn't care.
All right. Well, I gotta head out. So I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
I may be a white boy, but I'm not stupid.